Okay, so I think we're recording now.
Okay,
Let's
cool.
start. What is your name, please?
My name's Tyson Bailey.
Okay, and how old are you?
I am 34, if I remember correctly.
And where are you physically located?
Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Nice. How many OMS classes have you taken so far?
I am currently in my 8th class at the moment, and I've got a week and a half left, roughly.
Okay. And have all of these classes used Piazza?
Yes.
And so would you then classify yourself as a Piazza novice or an expert?
Um, that's a tough one. I'm probably somewhere in between. I'm going to go with.
Okay. Modest. Okay.
Well, I think there's a lot of features of Piazza that I don't
Uh-huh.
even know about, and that I don't even use because I haven't bothered to look into them.
Okay, that's a fair assessment. Um, when you use Piazza, do you normally use the in-browser application or the mobile app?
I only use browser, and that's on both mobile phone and computers.
Okay. Do you use it on your phone a lot, or do you usually use it in front of?
I would say probably 75% or more of my usage is from my phone.
Really, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you then like what are the physical what are the physical places that you mostly find yourself using Piazza on? Is it at work? Is it at home? Is it in the car?
I would say probably at least probably 30 to 40% of the time is while I'm laying in bed putting kids to sleep. Other times might be out grocery shopping or walking between buildings at work or things like that. Yeah.
Okay, so are you multitasking or are you able to concentrate on the task at hand with
I
nothing?
would say generally probably more, I guess, multitasking. I mean, I'm not necessarily doing other things other than like laying there in the case of putting my kids to sleep. I mean, I'm not trying to take care of them and read the Piazza stuff. But
Okay. Is there anything distracting you while you're using Piazza?
um, the internet. That's probably about that.
Okay, but no, like, physical things like kids screaming,
I
cars
mean, yeah, that
driving.
happens. That happens here and there. I mean, the other maybe, what was it, like 25% of the time that I'm not on my phone. I mean, if I'm sitting at the computer and they're hanging out doing other stuff, yeah. I mean, they are very distracting at times. Wife and kids.
Okay. Typically, what is your main goal when you're working in Piazza?
Um, Sometimes it's kind of a mix. It's trying to learn new things. So have people posted anything interesting that I maybe didn't know before, and
Uh-huh.
then on the other hand, how can I help other people? Because kind of the common theme that I've always heard is you learn better when you teach other people. So if you take the opportunity to try and answer questions and come up with a cognizant, not really solution for their problem, but approach to helping them find their problem, it helps you think through the problem a little bit better and actually try and learn it better, I guess.
Okay, so would you say you're mostly looking for answers or providing answers?
I would say I'm going to go with probably like an 80-20 split. Like I'm probably 80% looking for answers, 20% answering.
Hmm. Okay. So, what do you do if you have a question? What's your workflow?
Right. So typically, I'll try and figure out, is this something that I can find an answer in the lectures, the reading material, or things like that. If it's not real obvious from that, I'll try to usually do some googling if I can, and then I'll usually hit Piazza to ask questions. Sometimes I may already kind of have the answer, but not really understand why or more details about it, and so I'll kind of more look for that of, hey, or I'll do something. I'll be like, well, that's kind of a weird result, and I'll kind of post an observation of, I saw this happen and I'm not really sure why. I can't quite reason it out. Do you guys have any suggestions?
Hmm. So do you then right away move into asking questions on Piazza, or or do you first try to see if anybody asked a similar question already?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, typically I will try to see if there are questions. But yeah, I mean, as you know, and most everybody, the Piazza search interface is not exactly optimal. So most of my searching usually just revolves around just scanning the left column through all the new posts. Usually, because I'm frequently checking Piazza, I'm at least aware what questions have been asked. So when I am ready to ask a question, it's usually only like 2 or 3 posts that I'm like, oh, I haven't seen the one that asks the question that I'm thinking about. Usually,
Hmm. Okay, so so then how do you search? Let's try to walk me through it.
typically, like lately, what I've been doing is I'll just so like there's the tags or whatever. So like you can pick homework 1, homework 2, or things
Hmm.
like that. These days, that's usually what I'll try and do is just click there and then scan through the left column. Very occasionally, I'll try and actually search. Um, in the past, I've experienced that sometimes when I search for something, I don't really find that word unless I don't know if it's like a capitalization issue or whatever it is, but like I'll be like, I know there was a post about this. I'll type the word in and not find it, and I haven't figured out the magic incantation to actually get those search results to work necessarily.
Okay, so then for the most part, you just either try to find posts that you already know are out there because you're usually up to date, and then
Yeah.
if that doesn't work, you're saying you use folders or tags, and as a last resort, you would use a keyword search, right?
Yep.
Okay. Are you familiar with the search functionality that's currently present in Piazza? Like, you mentioned searching by folders, but searching by contributors, searching by resolved, unresolved.
So,
Um,
I have almost never searched by like resolved, unresolved, or any of that kind of stuff.
mhm.
I forget contributors exist. I mean, I know there's like tags or like not tags, but like special search query stuff, but it's just not something I really look into or use on a day to day basis.
Okay. Do you think it's because it's difficult to use and difficult to discover, or do you think it's because it's something that's not that you just
Um,
wouldn't are not interested in?
I would say a little bit of both. I mean, once in a while, I might need to look for like, oh, this person said something. I remember one time I need to go find them, which it's odd because you'd think you could just search for their name and it would find the posts. And there's been occasionally times where you have to search via contributors before you can actually find that post. But yeah, there's just like some, I guess, involved in all of it, and then and perhaps there's other query strings that I'm not aware of that would be useful, but I just
Mhm.
haven't bothered to even look into it because it works, I guess, well enough for me at this point that we're good. Although, when you get to the insane point of, you know, tons and tons of posts and repeated posts of the same thing, it does get kind of annoying, and I will sometimes just kind of jump over a lot of that.
Okay, so would you say that it's more difficult in larger classes then?
Yeah, difficult to use in larger classes because I think the problem is that um, there's a lot of people that also don't use the search functionality, and rather than actually keeping up with most of the posts, they just I've got a few minutes on the weekend. I need to work on this project. I'll just post a new question, even though there's been 15 posts by the same topic. They just haven't kept up with it, and that's where it's tricky because even the some classes have like a I don't know the right it's not contribution, but whatever the term is, where you have to be part of class and like actually participate. Participation. There we go. They require participation, and then you get people that are just like, well, I'll just go through and click through everything, and then they don't read it, or vice versa, where when they actually read it, then there's less of the repeated questions sometimes.
Hmm.
So I think when there's participation, there's more noise but less repeated questions, if that makes sense.
Okay, I mean that makes sense. So in those situations when the classes are large, do you find that your workflow changes, or does it pretty much stay the same? I mean, are you able?
Yeah, I would say in general it stays pretty similar. I guess the change is when I'm scanning, if I see a bunch of very similar questions to things I've already seen and I'm already kind of passed in a assignment sense, if that makes sense, I oftentimes will either just quickly skip through them, or I'll click on them to kind of get the read or unread state of them changed to read, READ, not RED, and then skip through them, kind of thing.
Okay. Do you have any ideas on how to improve the way you find useful information on Piazza?
Yeah, I'm not. It's tricky. I think one of my biggest frustrations with Piazza is that we move from class to class, and Piazza kind of just resets when you start a new class. And I think there's a lot of valuable information that goes from semester to semester that maybe a particular topic came up in last semester, but nobody thought to bring it up this semester, and now kind of that information to this current class of students is just gone. The hard part is if you're talking about more assignment-specific solutions and details in a given semester, you kind of can't carry that forward. Mm-hmm. But I kind of get the feeling that almost more like a Stack Overflow approach or something like that, where questions that are repeated questions are easier to mark as duplicate and things like that. One of the things that I've kind of come across, and I think this is the case, it's been a little while since I've fiddled with it, but just because I don't use it very often because of this, when you mark something as duplicate, I think you have to go over and click it on the left side. And I mean, if that thing's 200 posts down, you got to sit there and scroll down and go, okay, which one was it again? And when I might remember the number, but I have to go click on the thing, I can't just type the number. Now, I think that's how that works, although who knows, maybe I'm not using it right. So I was even thinking about this morning, possibly even having the ability to have kind of like, I don't know if you're familiar with the forum software discourse, but you can kind of have nested level of comment hierarchy and stuff too. So instead of just having one flat layer of everybody answers questions and it's just intermingled and jumping back and forth, you can actually respond to specific questions. So I guess in Slack, for example, you can actually have a specific, I think you can do like a chat on a particular post that somebody does. And so in a way, it'd be kind of like that, I guess. So trying to think if there's anything else. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, but most people, when they go to Google, they don't typically use a lot of special search operators. You just kind of type some random words you think make sense, and then it does a good job of finding the things. I don't think Piazza does that, and so it'd be probably pretty useful if Piazza made their search a little bit more generic to where you could actually find things without having to have special operators.
Okay. Is there anything else for the search functionality specifically, or not necessarily for the search functionality as much as for your ability to find the information that you're looking for? So it doesn't necessarily have to be part of search.
Yeah, I mean, I guess one example would be is like, if you're typing a name in and it searches through all of both contributors as well as text and other things, if it maybe would pop up and say, hey, did you want to limit this to just contributors? Oh, another one that I just came across actually this week, I think, was I can click on the folder for Project 3, but I can't actually search within that folder. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, well, I want to look for this particular topic within that folder, and nope, it just goes to search the entire forum instead of only within that subset, which is kind of annoying. I mean, there aren't an insane amount of posts in that particular folder, but sometimes there does get to be quite a few, and so being able to search a little bit more efficiently through that would be convenient.
Okay.
I think it might come up with search hints a little bit when you're typing, but I don't really remember for sure just because I don't use it that often.
Okay. Anything else?
I can't think of anything right now, no.
Okay. Well, Tyson, you've been great. Thank you very much for all your help.
No problem.
I'm going to stop the recording.